BlackUSA.news morning show. I'm your host, William Honolulu Jr. Join us as we explore the news and opinions that impact our community. We break down how the major stories have a very personal, local, and racial impact. No topic is off limits, but even if the conversation gets rough, we're always going to keep it real.
Greetings and salutations, all my friends out there in internet land. I am William Honolulu Jr., and I have the privilege and honor of serving as the host of the Black USA News Morning Show. Good morning to you. Well, today, I got to go through my show notes, but today, y'all know I tell y'all I know dope people. So today, I'm going to introduce you to one of the dope dudes I know, Jamye Wooten, who is out here with his organization called Collectively. Who, we have a lot of people who talk about it with like, oh, we should be doing something, or even worse than that. Y'all know how I feel about they should be doing, you know what they should be doing. And one of the things I respect about Jamye is that Jamye is not about that they life. He saw a need in the market space. There was a gap. Organizations that were doing great work weren't getting the funding that they needed. Jamye was like, I got this. And he pulled together show notes. You see, I one of the challenges with knowing dope folk, and you get excited about me. I want to tell you what he did. But I got to calm it down because it's a semi-professional show or something. Because I get calls. The producer be like, "Oh yeah, I took a look at what you did, and here's some notes." And so I have show notes, and that just causes me self-esteem, kind of self-esteem problems, but not really self-esteem, more like professional development type things that I need to do. But it's whatever. There's just one more thing on the list of stuff I talk to my therapist about on Mondays. It's whatever. So before we get it, so y'all know I got to do the whole appropriate show intro thing. It's not like haven't been doing this for like a damn near a year, and I'm still having to remember what it is. But one of the things that I know we do all the time is that we highlight and shout out our partnership with Breadcoin. Breadcoin is an organization that is an alternative payment system. They take your donations and put the value of your donation against the coins that they mint. Breadcoin right now, I think the value of one of their coins is $2.50. Those coins are distributed through an existing network of individuals and organizations who work with people who have the greatest need, who live in starvation zones, or who are homeless, or victims or survivors of abuse. And so Breadcoin works with existing networks to get these coins into people's hands, not at no cost. And then the people take these coins and they go to the participating organizations or the participating restaurants and caterers, and they present the coins, and then they get food. You're like, okay, that's cool, William. It's great that they help people get food, but see, you missing the point. People get to get food and still maintain their dignity. There is so often in our society where we need people to look a certain way. They need to look broke down. They can't be smiling if you're homeless. You can't have happy, and we need you to look broke so we can feel good about ourselves and helping. That's not how Breadcoin gets down, and I am grateful for the opportunity at Black USA News to partner with an organization that understands that it's not just about us getting to help people with their issues. It is about us treating people humanely, like humans, as we do it. So big up to Breadcoin. Check them out, www.breadcoin.org. It's a great organization. They love coming out. They love. I cannot stress to you how much they love coming out to the community. And guess what? When they come out to the community, they tend to bring food. Okay. All right. So, not just to help the organization, but also to introduce your community to options and resources that can help address the issue, address their underlying issues. You know what? This is going to end up being a shit. The funny part is damn near every day I get a show note on Breadcoin. They're like, okay, this was the designated time for Breadcoin. You went over. Yes, I am going to go over on Breadcoin. I'll take it from my own damn time. It's my show. Shut up. Okay. Yeah, it's absolutely going to go on the list for my therapist. All right. As you all know, in Maryland, there's the 2020 elections. We just finished the primary up. Congratulations to those who have been successful in their primaries and are advancing to the general election. And big up to those who ran at all. There's some of you all who I find your politics and you as people disgusting, but I am grateful that you are stepping into the gap and really trying to elevate the conversation or lower it, depending on who you are. But the fact that we keep those conversations going, that we keep the dialogue and the learning and the growth together. I'm going to give you all a shout out for that, but that is the only one you get. Don't go around and say, oh yeah, William said no. Only when you tell them I gave you props, it's only because you ran, not because you're good. Yeah, okay, all right. Damn it. But stay with BlackUSA.news for our continuing coverage of Maryland elections. And not only do we give you our host's opinion and commentary, what we do is we bring you interviews from the candidates themselves. We want you to hear what they said, so you can figure out how to hold them accountable, how you can stay connected, so you can make a more informed choice. I got to be honest. There were a couple of candidates, because I work with the production team on the back end of putting these clips and the shows and stuff together. And there was one candidate that, I was going to just kind of hurry up and go through their interview, because I damn sure wasn't going to vote for them until I got to the end of the interview. And I was like, well, you know what? They made some really good points. Like, it's real. You need to make sure that you stay engaged and stay informed, because, when one of our friends, she used to say all the time, if you are not at the table, you are on the menu. And these motherfuckers are hungry. So watch what you do and make sure you do it right. Darker Than Blue is one of the challenges with hosting a show in the morning. I normally wake up and I am starving, and Darker Than Blue starts at lunch. Oh my God. But if you get an opportunity to go and visit and do business with Darker Than Blue, and the food is wonderful. But what's more is that it's a Black-owned business in a Black city that works in the Black community. That is a really big deal, because, so often in our communities, we get people who get put on, they extract resources from our community. And then the next thing you know, they're open up in the county, or, they're moving to Atlanta, or those. Yeah. You know who I'm talking about, moving to Atlanta. You don't bring no good tilapia up in here and then just wait till we start liking it and then go and move. You know who you are. Okay. Anyway, but Darker Than Blue is still here. Darker Than Blue has been through the fire. And now they have this location in the heart of Baltimore. And, we need to make sure that we don't just talk about organizations and talk about what they do and how they should do it. See, you see how we segue right in? We about to get to Jamie. We almost there. See, I need to make sure y'all stay engaged. But again, organizations that don't just talk about what they do or what other people need to do, we need to tell the story with our dollars. Still tell the story with our commitment. And you know what? I know some of y'all out there struggling. I know I'm struggling. But the best case scenario, just tell somebody else. If you know somebody is going someplace to get something, it's like, hey, stop by Darker Than Blue, DoorDash, or whatever. So, because our money matters. Because we know, I don't know if you know, but I know as a Black organization, it's going to be much tougher for them to get resources than it is for organizations that have Caucasian in their repertoire. All right. Okay, yeah, you know what? I realized I did go along on Greg Coin. So you know what? I'm gonna put Grinding Gang on the end of this, because that's my fault. Because I'm not gonna cut Jamie's time down. I'd be damn. I might do some extra with Jamie and just take the ass. The show notes later. So Jamie runs Collectively. Collectively is an incredible organization, and in the interest of disclosure, because I tell you, I might not keep it 100, but I keep it 85 with you. Collectively, I had been following Jamie for a while, and watching kind of the work that they did with small nonprofit, and it looked good from the outside. But then I've shared with you all before that I am the chair of the board of Fosterpreneur. Here you go, Fosterpreneur. There it is. I'm the chair of the board, and our CEO, Erica, she said, hey, we're going to get in this campaign with Collectively, and we got to get our vote game up. We need to do that. And I was like, okay. Because and for me, and I'm going to be honest, I don't even think I've ever told Jamie this. Oh, actually, I know I haven't. I hear about these types of things all the time. All you got to do, if you sell this many, you'll be able to get. If you do this, you'll be able to get. And it's like, okay, sure. Okay. But again, I knew Jamie, but I just had never seen it until it became fun. Erica would text me in the morning, make sure you vote, make sure you vote. And I'm like, okay, make sure I vote. And then was texting people like, hey, yo, did you vote? Oh, and then it got crazy near the end. When I tell you, like in the last 3 days, it was ridiculous. And again, I think Erica told Jamie this. We got, you all remember when Justice Connection, Keisha Brown from Justice Connection came, and she did a couple of shows with us here. We met Keisha through Collectively, because Keisha and her crew, they were pushing. They were getting all of these, all their votes were going up. And then I would call like a shit ton of people, send out emails, and they would vote, and then they would vote. And it was, when I tell you, it was stressful. It was very stressful. It was near the holidays too. I think it was very stressful. And the thing is it got fun. It got engaged. And I also clicked on a couple other pictures. Well, especially Keisha's. I was like, who is this and why is she whooping her ass every morning I wake up? Like, the funny part was I would go to sleep, we'd be leading, and I don't know what she did overnight. I don't want to sound like no Stop the Steal person. I'm just saying, I woke up in the morning and she had us beat, and it was like, okay, we got to work the rest of the day. Yeah, this is going to end up a show note too. I can tell you this now. But I get excited because I saw it work. And what ended up happening is that I clicked on a couple of the other organizations and I saw what they were doing. Talked to Keisha, has been referring business and organizations to them, bringing them on the show. And that's what I'm saying. That's the power of not waiting until they come and help us. All right. He's probably sitting there like, yo, I was going to say that myself, but okay. So I'm going to bring him on now if you got something else that I don't know. Hey, Jamie, how's it going, sir?
It's going well.
Being here, man.
Thank you so much. Thanks for the invitation.
Oh, absolutely. So okay. I tell make sure, because we keep it, like I said, we keep it 85 here. If anything I said wasn't on the level, call me bullshit right now.
That's it. That's the Black Futures Micro Grant program you're talking about. And
yes,
we run that every day. Every month, organizations submit a 2 to 3 minute video, and then the community at large votes. Now we're probably up to over 110,000 votes. So the community has really been engaged. We just ran an Adaptive Village contest with Morgan State and Family League, and we had 40,000 people vote in 10 days. So that was one of our biggest push, and just awarded over $220,000 to 21 organizations.
No, say that again. I want to make sure we're gonna make sure they hear that. Say, because see, I realized in my travels and journeys that people take numbers tell them the numbers again. We want to make sure that they understand that this isn't like, oh yeah, we give away a couple $1,000s and this and that, but you all are giving, because we're going to talk about the impact later, but I want to make sure they understand, like, this is solid work. It changes organizations' trajectory. Go ahead. Sorry.
Absolutely. Over $220,000 in grants to 21 organizations, 40,000 votes, and 120,000 views to the site, which is also important because everybody doesn't win, but everybody gets seen. So part of this work is also around amplification and narrative change and shining the light on our organization.
That is absolutely important, because a lot of these organizations, they don't get love from a lot of other places. I know that, even, many of these organizations, especially the micro enterprises, they're so focused on doing the work that they don't get around to trying to think through the funding. And the other part is that there's a lot of organizations, and again, Erica Myers for Fostpreneur, she'll tell you this herself, is like, it was a great idea, a lot of passion, but she didn't have the business acumen. Like, and it takes a while to get there. And one of the things that I appreciate that you do is that even having them going through the process of trying to get funding is a skills development activity in and of itself.
That's right. Yeah, and all our grants too are no strings attached as well. And so that's important, particularly for small organizations. We have become now a first funder for many Black-led organizations here in the city, and then no strings. And that's important. That gives some creativity, some flexibility for smaller organizations to maybe invest in things that they see as a priority, as opposed to what the foundation may see as a priority.
Okay. So let's that's where you are today. How did you get all of this started? Like, everybody talks about we started in a garage with, 4 blah, blah, blah. So what's your origin story? Like, when they come up with the Collectively superhero, what's the origin story?
Yeah, I think the first, it's probably a couple iterations of the story. First, I used to be a director of an organization called the Collective Banking Group, so working with over 200 churches in faith-based economic development. So I saw the ways in which historically Black folks have always mobilized their resources. Churches do it every Sunday. So how do we take this sort of the methodology, the technology that has always existed in our community and bring that to the community at large? Then it was the murder of Freddie Gray in 2015. I was one of the co-founders of Baltimore United for Change. During that time, we created a skills bank. And the skills bank was an on-ramp for folks who weren't necessarily on the ground, but they were trying to plug in. So I'm a mental health provider, I'm a lawyer, I'm a photographer, web designer. How might I plug in? And so we had over 260 individuals and organizations join that skills bank. And we collectively, which launched in 2019, the goal was how could we provide a more faith-forward platform and begin to invite all Black-led organizations serving in the city. So we launched with that first phase, our sort of asset map directory. We heard again during the uprising from foundations, they didn't necessarily know who was on the ground. We wanted to remove that as a barrier. And so now we have over 200 organizations mapped by their area of focus and neighborhood.
Oh, that's wonderful, man. And you hit on something that becomes real big, especially in Black communities, is that sometimes we don't even know where things are. You know, we talk about like, oh, did you go here? Or even worse, they'll tell you like you need a business plan. It's like, okay, how do I get I remember the first time I tried to put a business plan together, I went and bought a template, and this is back. So, you know, I got a little gray every once in a while. So this is back when the computers first had the templates, and you buy this floppy disk and you stick it in, and I was like, all right. And it says, so what is this? And I was like, it asked me a question like, so what is your mission? And I was like, where's the button I click to find out what my mission should be? Like, I know I want to do this, so this template should help me fill in the gaps. And that started me on my journey to develop a level of business expertise and acumen. But one of the things I recognize is that many of us don't even get that kind of start to begin with. We don't know we don't even know what questions to ask. And so I know that you have, but I want you to tell people about how you all have gone and helped people develop kind of that critical capacity of information so that they can be effective, not just Black-led, but be effective in the space.
Yeah, I mean, actually, too, I was going to launch in 2018, and I had the opportunity to got invited to participate in executive education program at UPenn on social impact. So I spent the whole year sort of running collectively through that as my own case study of how we were going to sustain it. So when we launched in 2019, I was sort of ready to hit the ground running. We had spent the year sort of doing the work, and now we want to bring those same sort of tools to community-based organizations, and particularly from our own lens too. Like, we're also challenging the philanthropic and funding community, right? We want to shift the center of gravity where often the power is held within the foundation community, but we also want to say there's expertise that exists within our community. And my saying often the foundation is partnership, not paternalism. How might we partner? How might we come alongside one another? And so, and again, be a resource for our organizations, because often they don't know necessarily where those resources may be. So who is a good web developer? Who's a good lawyer? So Keisha is a great person to have on as you're starting your organization and you're looking for attorneys, web development, marketing, branding, all that, who are sort of the trusted partners. And so those are tools that we're looking forward to providing to the community.
That's wonderful. And not just in the kind of general, it's really nice that you're helping people. This is the substantive help that ends up becoming transformative. Tell us about some of your highlights. You've been doing this since 2019, well, really since 2018. Tell us about some of the highlights, some of the things when you look back, you're like, yeah, that's why I do it.
Yeah, I think in 2019, we did our first day of giving. The collective give is a 24-hour day of giving. We raised $5,000 in 24 hours. In 2020, we raised $56,000 in 24 hours. Last year, we raised $102,000 in 24 hours. Our goal this year is to raise $1 million in 48 hours on August 19th and 20th. So we're excited about that again, and that's all unrestricted dollars. So again, the funding that's coming from collectively gives our organizations the ability to thrive and not be sort of restricted from programmatic dollars. Also, a recent one we did this year was We Got Your Back Award. And I was really excited about that. I come from a family of entrepreneurs. My dad owned several nightclubs and dry cleaners in the city. My sister had 2 pizza delivery stores, but I lost my sister at 53 and my dad at 56. So I know like what that bootstrapping and not having the proper investment can do and the toll that it can take on you as well. And so the We Got Your Back Award went to a sister entrepreneur, Black woman in the city, and she received a $2,000 a month stipend for the entire year. And so that was one that I was really excited about. It's not, the metrics aren't, how did you scale your business? It really, did you take care of yourself? Did you take a breather? Did you know if you need it for childcare, if you need it for housing, whatever you need to be whole? I often say we often invest in the program, the project, or even the business, and not ask, is the person okay? And I know that here in Baltimore, often we have folks who are pouring from an empty cup. They're giving a lot to community, and we aren't doing the same to reinvest in them. So We Got Your Back Award is probably one of that sort of near and dear to my heart.
Oh, that's beautiful. And I think that one of the things that you talked about is engaging people, like really looking at the holistic human. And I really think that, in looking at the way that you have operated and looking at the organizations that you supported and even the causes that you allow on your platform, it is a lot of being the thing that you were looking for in the community. It was, when you were looking, this wasn't there. So boom, let me become this. And you do it. I think that perspective has given you, instead of learning it in a book, it is giving you the opportunity to remember the humanity in it. Like, these are actual people. These aren't statistics. And I think sometimes we try to make business so objective that, this is all business, is not personal. Like, when did I stop being a person?
That's right.
That's part of the problem. If you can reduce me to a business functionary, it's like if you knock over the laptop, your biggest concern is only if the laptop still works. If it's battered, bruised, so long as I can still see, okay, let me go ahead and finish typing.
Right.
And we tend to treat not just the people who work for us, but also our volunteers like that a lot of times. We see them as functionaries in this larger activity, even to help others. And so just want to commend you and commend you on the fact that you keep the humanity in. And how have you made that part of the organization's, not just its mission, but its culture?
Yeah, I mean, that's who we are. And I think, again, I'm pulling from the ways in which African folks have always mobilized resources. I say this is not philanthropy, right? Even though we are sort of in the section of philanthropy and movement building, this is really rooted in African ways of knowing and understanding. I don't even really use the word sort of grantees. They're partners. We're just playing one role inside of this ecosystem. Ours just happens to be resource mobilization, but I don't see myself above or different than any other organization that may be providing food or education programs. Because to that point of, Ubuntu I am because we are, right? This is about our humanity, right? And so our work is centered on that. And even when we do the monthly micro grants, one of the things we do, we pull from the principles of the BlackUSA. So every organization has to sort of interject one value that speaks to them. So it might be unity or faith or cooperative economics. So trying to get folks used to those shared values, those things that bring us together. So I think sometimes, Baltimore's a tough town, and I think the news doesn't help us as much, but I see there's so much positivity in community, folks who are working together, folks that are, again, pulling from their own resources to serve community. And yeah, this is about family. This is not about collectively as a business. It really is, how do we come alongside and serve those who are serving us?
All right, so let's have some fun now. Let's do some good shit right here and call out some people, because I mean, you get to see people from a different lens than I do. I check social media feeds and if it comes up and things like that. But I know, especially being on the receiving end of it, that there's a lot more engagement and interaction. So do it. Let's call out some people that you work with that are doing the damn thing and really making it happen.
One that I'm always excited about is Tendia Family. They were our first.
Say it again.
Tendia Family.
Tendia Family.
Yeah, so the Tendia Family works in East Baltimore, and they started with community cleanups. Now they're doing mentorship and working with young people in the community. They also want to open this fruit smoothie company, so they do that in the community as well. But they received our first grant, and it was their first grant as well. And so to see them grow, they just won the Adaptive Village grant, so that was a $25,000 no strings attached grant to them. And so to see their elevation, they're young folks out of Morgan State who are committed to community. Their ethos is right. And so I just love Tadia family. Another one is the Black Church Food Security Network, Reverend Heber Brown. He launched also.
Dude. I see. I understand where you at. See, now, thank you for this, because I understand some of my show notes now. I was like, wait, I want to know that, because you're getting excited. I feel it. I'm like, but I'm trying to listen to this. Dude, I get you, but we're going to have to slow down for the people. We can talk to each other like that, but they're not going to understand.
Yeah, this is what keeps me going, even though it's work. It really are the folks that are showing up and doing so much work. So I do get excited to talk about them. So Reverend Heber Brown, he is the founder of the Black Church Food Security Network. They launched in 2015 during the uprising and began to connect churches with Black farmers on Maryland Eastern Shore. And again, to watch Heber Brown begin to move not just throughout Maryland, but now through the Carolinas, parts of the Midwest, and connect churches with Black farmers and bring those resources back to Baltimore and around the country. This is a model that folks are paying attention to all around the country. I hope Baltimore pays greater attention. Sometimes we slow to recognize the genius that exists right here in the city. So he's doing amazing work. So very proud of him. Man, our sisters, can I talk about African Diaspora Alliance? They're doing
absolutely.
Amazing work, educating young people. I believe they just came back from Costa Rica. So they've taken trips to Cuba, Costa Rica, and I believe one trip maybe to Ghana. But they're doing amazing work, again, centering African ways of knowing and understanding and providing young people in Baltimore an opportunity to see the world. So the platform is rich with a ton of folks that are doing amazing work that often don't get the type of resources they need. And we want to amplify that, tell their story, and mobilize resources to support them.
Oh, that's wonderful, man. So okay, because I know that we should have a whole show. You just bring them on one after we talk to them. I don't threaten me with a good time. We will have that show next week. Don't play with me. But
that's right.
But let's kind of shift gears a little bit. You have been in the game. You come from a lineage of entrepreneurship in a family where that type of culture is part of the language, part of what you all do. And you have been working and you have been trained in how to make this kind of happen, and so that you have this level of wisdom and knowledge where it puts you at a more that you have a better understanding of some of these business principles, and you've been able to watch the nonprofit market space, and a lot of people don't have that. So as people are coming to you for advice, like, hey, see what you all are doing. How can I prepare my organization, not just for funding, but prepare to actually have an impact, to be meaningful? What kind of advice do you give people about that?
I mean, I say never stop learning, that you got to keep working on the business. And I think sometimes, and it is, from a startup standpoint, the hustle and grind of that, but it's important that we really understand even the nonprofit sector itself. So sometimes we might understand our food program, our education program, but it's important to understand where these dollars are coming from, who's controlling these dollars, how nonprofits are moving to sort of better situate your organization in the trends, right? So nonprofits and foundations can be very fickle, right? So we see the sort of uprising after the murder of George Floyd. We see money beginning to move towards Black-led organizations, and already it's shifted back, whether it's to the environment and to other things. And so it's important that you sort of develop a program that is sustainable. I even push particularly nonprofit organizations to have a sort of revenue generating program within them, so they're not just waiting on found grants and foundation funding. Like that will choke the life out of your program. So that's something you want to think about early on.
So one of the things that, and we need to talk offline, because one of the things I've been doing with the Grinding Gang and the NAACP and with Fosterpreneur, it's kind of the same emphasis on providing critical skills so that people understand how the game works. But one of the things that you talked about before was this concept of practical genius. Well, you didn't say practical genius. You talked about the genius with like Dr. Dr. Brown, that the genius there, we tend not to recognize the genius around us. And one of the concepts that we talk about on the show often is the practical genius. And the example I use is a friend of mine, like 15, 20 years ago. She had an emergency and she was like $150 short on her car payment. So I was like, she's like, can I borrow it? I was like, yeah, sure. You know, I made sure I could afford it. And then it's like, cool, but I don't have the money on me. Let's go to the ATM after work. And she was like, okay, but let me tell you how I know I can pay you back. She talked about her child support when it was supposed to come in, which father, she had 2 kids, 2 different fathers, which one was more likely to pay, which bills came in, what date, what their what the late fee was and what the grace period was. She had all of this stuff mapped out. The reason that I remember this is that it was during the same time that Enron was collapsing. So, and you know, to have a job, any job at Enron, you had to be at the top 5% of the top 10% of business schools in the world. The world. If your school was publicly funded and it wasn't in another country, you probably couldn't work there. And so these men and women with these degrees, the leaders of the economy, they crashed a company into not even to the ground, like into a volcano. Right. And this woman for $150 was able to tell me how every dollar in her life worked, because the priorities are different. When you have resources, people with resources and with privilege, we require a level of discipline on those who don't, that we do not require ourselves.
That's right.
You have a lot of people with privilege who are talking about millennials and poor people. If you all stop having frappuccinos, dude, like your argument fails because it's not even based on math.
That's right.
And so it is that, to your point. It is making sure that we honor and understand that the practical genius in our community, that survival, that are coping mechanisms, the way that we respond to the social, individual, and community trauma that we face. It's like, okay. Do you follow Marvel? Follow Marvel?
A little bit. My son got me following.
Okay.
Stuff.
Okay.
Yeah.
So there's this group of people they call the Inhumans, and they have the Inhumans. Yeah, they have this thing called the Terrigen Mist. And so long time ago, they started, sleeping around with humans. I don't know why everybody wants to sleep with humans. Like, no matter where they from, everybody's trying to get it in. So whatever. So, we got this latent DNA thing going on, and then they pop open this mist. And if you one of us, you turn into a whole superhero. That's what it feels like trauma is to Black people. It is the Terrigen Mist. It is, I don't want to have to be an incredibly strong person. That's right. Nobody walks up like, hey, I want to be able to no, but what happens is that the pressure comes and my response is a superpower.
That's right.
And what we see in a lot of the communities that we serve is this, one of the superpowers is the practical genius. Watching people sit outside of a library after hours with a tablet so they can do homework.
That's right.
And so again, the way that you have set this up, it is designed to fit directly into the practical genius, to feed that way. And what's that phrase you use often? The way of knowing or the way of doing? What is that?
Yeah, always the African ways of knowing and understanding.
And for me, I can tell that it's based on moving wisdom from those who have to those who do not, and making pathways for it to spread among everyone.
That's right. That's right. Like, this is deeply rooted in us. Even so, when people sort of acknowledge the work of collectively, I say, no, this is, we're just operating in time and space, where we have an opportunity, where the technology affords us an opportunity to put it on a platform, but to be clear that this is the ways in which we've always moved as a people. Even some of the data around African Americans in giving, right? We give more than any other group does. And sometimes we don't believe that to be true, but that's the data, right? We give, I think it's 25% more than any other group. And so we are a giving people, we are a loving people, we are working on behalf of our people all the time. Again, just has been historically disinvested and underdeveloped, and we're trying to shine light on that, trying to put some pressure in the foundation world and the corporate world to mobilize those resources to the genius in community. The reality is folks have been working on these problems for a while with little to no capital, and if they just had some capital, we could change the city.
If they just had some capital and some wisdom. So, and again, I want to, because what I've heard from the foundations is, and I'm an avid believer in this. If you got a hole in your pocket, me giving you more money doesn't make you richer. Part of my responsibility in giving you money is to make sure that we check your pockets. We make sure that you know how to spend it. We need to make sure, to the point that you're talking about, screening providers so that people know that they're getting quality. Because real talk, how do you know who is what? Everybody whose last name is Esquire ain't good enough for what you might have to do. And how would you ever know that?
I say for us on the nonprofit side, I always say we start with impact. So I said we start with folks that have a track record in the community serving. And so again, Tadia family, they were already there. They would be doing that work whether we gave them money or not. The Black Running Organization, they would still be there doing the work. Heber Brown would still be doing the work. And so I say we start with impact, and then we can roll back and get whatever data you need. I think sometimes the foundations are started looking for the data and the metrics, and they're funding organizations that have little or no impact in our community. And so I think if you're on the ground and in relationship with, you'll know who has impact.
Everything he just said, like, I think that what time are we at? 35 minutes. That might have to be a cold clip right there, because that's real talk. Because I like data, and when you look at, if the average amount for a family of four to live in Baltimore City, I think they said it was like 26,000, something like that, like to live for a family of four, and the neighborhood is making like 14,000. That people should not be able to live there. Right. But those neighborhoods continue to exist, and maybe not thrive, but they exist. Why? Because of what you're talking about. Because, we talk about, Adam Smith and capitalism and barter, this exchange. That is a truly European perspective. And if you want to see what natural blackness looks like who we are at our very authentic, look at a cookout. No matter who has how much money in the family, everybody's coming through. And if you bring 20 pounds of potato salad and I only bring 10 pounds of macaroni and cheese, if you say something about how much more you bring, everybody's looking at you, because this is family. That's right. This is a gift economy. This is we are in this together. We here doing our thing. This is not control. This is not exploitation. That's because right. We are all humans. We are all together. And I think, to your point with a lot of the foundations, you bring people who manage money well. But that has nothing to do with people. That's right.
Yeah, and I always say, look, if you were really having impact, our communities will look different. So you can't be expert, right? So we have to rethink who really is expert. Just having the money or having the position does not necessarily make you expert. And part of what we're trying to do is shift that center of gravity. So our upcoming, we're doing this We Give Black Fest. One of our panels coming up is community-centered philanthropy, right? So having conversation with those in the foundation community around what does trust-based philanthropy look like? What does participatory philanthropy look like, where now community is part of the decision-making process? And so we have to shift that, because what I don't want to do is train Black folk how to be great nonprofit professionals into an oppressive system, right? We want to disrupt a system that helps liberate Black bodies.
So I want to make sure that everybody pays attention that I did not bring this up. So whatever happens after this is not my fault. We're gonna put that out there, because what you're talking about is this idea. Our entire system is built on that. So you got so many thoughts, only one mouth. Damn it! All right. So I just got back from the 113th NAACP convention in Atlantic City. Big up to Reverend Kobe Little, president of the local branch, and President Johnson of National NAACP. One of the things that President Johnson said, he talked about how racism has many causes, but one of the main ones that caused it to persist was the exploitation of labor, this idea of business, this idea, because when you look at American history, most of the people that came over on some kind of contract or indentured servitude. And at first, the Irish were the Negroes. Then the Italian, then they intermingled and you couldn't really tell them apart. And, but then the Italians came. So, okay, the Italians are the Negroes. Again, they didn't use the word Negroes, but because somebody gonna put a comment in. That's not what they said. No, I know.
But they weren't always white. They became white.
Right. And that was the thing. Became this thing of white. but it was designed because you could easily identify the Asians, Blacks, and Hispanics. So your economic interest and your economic interest was vested. That's basically, it was easier to keep up with your inventory.
Mm-hmm.
And so what ended up happening is that exploitation of labor became indoctrinated or integrated into the entire American experience. And what it also did is created a permanent underclass, so that the lowest class of the main class didn't feel that bad. But what they also did not realize is that once you start dehumanizing any part, then the standard for everybody goes down. That if I feel, actually tipping is the same thing. I found out that tipping it was a bougie practice that well-traveled Americans and Europeans wanted to show their wealth. They would just make it like going to a strip club. You just make it rain just to show everybody that you can make it rain. I didn't come here for the drinks. I came here for the attention. That's what you did. And so they came back to America, and people were like, that's real rude. That makes me look bad. If you at a table right there giving them extra money, I don't got extra money. And so for a long time, there was a movement against tipping. But during Reconstruction, the jobs that Blacks could get were either manual labor, farm labor, or menial service jobs. And in an effort to make it feel okay and exploit profitability and keep those niggers in their place, tipping was created. So now your entire economic well-being has to do with how well these white people I'm bringing into my restaurant feel about you. And it maintained not just that, it not only did it give an economic bonus to the restaurateur, it also had that psychological effect of making sure you remember where your place was. Your entire salvation, your life got to be okay, unless I say so.
That's right. That's right.
So, but to your point, when we reduce it just to business, when we are focused on the money instead of the mission, right, we end up with we don't hit our mission.
That's right. We can't lose our humanity in the system. We must sort of help others regain their humanity, right, and create a more just and equitable system.
It is a really I've had some mentees, with the work I do with Falsepreneur and some other organizations. It is amazing to see how people believe they need to transform in order to be in business. I had this one young man who was nicest dude, but when we talked about how he needed a business, all of a sudden he became Scarface or Rick Ross. It was like, yeah, I'm gonna beat it, and it was what, bruh, like it's like no, because you gotta be aggressive in business. It's like, who taught you this?
Yeah.
But that's what he has seen. That's what he's been told, and again, without real wisdom, without real knowledge, practical experience, that's how you get caught up in hustles.
Well, yeah, and that's the model of sort of, this sort of cutthroat, everybody for themselves, and that does not serve us well, right? Our power is in the collective, right? It doesn't matter how a few of us, if we shine, and if there's no collective power, we still get the Freddie Grays, we still get the George Floyds, right? We need collective power to be able to leverage to get the type of justice and systems that we need that serve us all well.
I appreciate the fact that you don't anchor it or try to separate it. Like there's this economic piece without the social justice and the civil justice. Because I got into this debate. I get into debates all the time because I got opinions on shit and I got facts to back me up. And so we got into this debate with this person about Black Wall Street and what it was and da-da-da. And I said, well, what a lot of people don't realize is that after it was destroyed, it was rebuilt. And it thrived, again, quietly, but it thrived until integration. Because to your point, during civil rights, when integration was okay, people talk about like, oh, you believe the white man's ice is colder. Well, yeah, that actually came from a place. When refrigerators first came out and they had the ice houses, they would bring ice and put it in there. But they would bring the white people's ice in the morning. So they would have a larger block than the Black people ice in the afternoon. So while the white people's ice may last a week, Black people maybe 5 or 6 days. And so even when we talk about these kind of cliches about the white man's ice being colder, that is not like that's real. It is not an imaginary thing like, oh, that can, and it's so funny that one of the things I realize about the system and the people who control it is that they are good at co-opting, corrupting, and discarding. They'll take the white man's ice is colder thing, and it's like, oh, that means that you're paranoid, that you believe that white people are special. There it is. And now 2 generations later, we say that as an insult to Black people. It's like, no, that's the opposite.
Yeah, we just got to really pull back on our culture like this. Like I would say, everybody's trading off of Black culture, whether it's artists, entertainment, everything. We have not necessarily valued our own social capital and who we are. And again, that's what we're trying to center our social capital. We believe that every organization in the city that's doing work has their own social capital. And sometimes we, again, trade it for crumbs, and we need to, come together, understand our value, understand our cultural value as a collective, and how do we leverage that for the greater good.
I love that. Trade it for crumbs.
Yeah.
So one of
my mentors, he said, I'm not surprised some of us sell out. He just said, I'm surprised at the crumbs we willing to take to sell out.
Okay, that is a good point. And actually, we talk about that often on, like Donnie talks about often, how when you look at corruption and things like that, you have people who are throwing away their legacies for 15 grand.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like you have like you have people, I'm sorry, are one of the potential gubernatorials, and again, I'm not trying to suck you in no politics stuff. This is what I said. Okay, you know what? Let me change the layout so in case somebody want to say you said something, you can be like, no, he was on the big screen. Let me see. Okay, there we go. So we even right now got a gubernatorial candidate who was part of the Stop the Steal movement. Again, I'm not suggesting that he was in all the illegal stuff, but that is who he is. And so, again, we need to understand the importance of us working together collectively, because even the crazies are.
That's right.
Even the people who are lying and know they're lying, they are working together. And look at, you know what? Woo, Jamie, you done opened up a whole thing. Okay, all right. So you can come back for this part, because this is like an example. This ain't really political at this point. But when you look at the people who, like the insurrectionists and the people who stormed the Capitol, look what they were able to do when they rallied together around a lie.
Mm-hmm.
Like they're sticking together literally has changed not just the trajectory of the Republican Party, but literally the United States, and with it, the world.
That's right.
And so if they can do that with crazy, we have the practical genius. We know what makes it impact. And one of the tools that they use is the intimidation and separation.
Mm-hmm. That's right. These ideas of individualism, they don't even really believe in these ideas of individualism. They're organizing, even Democrat and Republican, right? When it's foreign affairs or whatever, they're going to leverage the collective, while we sometimes are chasing these ideas of individuality. We had to go back to our roots and understand the power within that collective.
Now here's the thing. I agree about going back to the roots and understanding the collective. However, I've spent many years walking on the shady side of the light. So I am very comfortable that there are some times where you have to use the tools of your enemy in order to beat your enemy. And so right now we have a situation where, sometimes we think that us working together is like, oh, you should be able to do it on your own. You should be able to tough it out. If you got to work with other people, then you need to own it all. And it is, again, these concepts of greed that don't even belong to us in the first place.
That's right.
Like, how you trying to start a nonprofit, but you trying to be greedy? Come on, Joe, stop playing. I need to have all the control so I can help people. I have to do it. It's like, you sound like a crazy person. This is how supervillains start. But we make it make sense in our head.
That's right. And I mean, that's even part of the process with the Michael grants, was really around, beyond the money, it's really base building, trust building, relationship building, all the things you have to do before we say, like, what we should do is do this whole, and like, we move too fast and we skip relationships, trust, the trauma that exists, right? We got to deal with all that. And so we've been intentional. I always say the first 3 years was about deepening relationships and trust. And so I think we all want to come together, but we got to be willing to put in the work of relationships, trust, and taking the fact that there is trauma, right? People have been let down, have gone through, have been, got the short end of the stick. So we want to make sure we're intentional around like what this healing looks like. And this is long-term work. I would say movement work is, some of us like the marches and the protests, but movement work and organizing work is really long-term commitments when the cameras are not here. It's when the spotlight is not here.
Hey,
How do
yo,
we
why you
stick
gonna
to the
keep
long
saying?
term?
You know what? You disrespectful. You disrespectful. You sitting here giving me goosebumps, and that is not right. Like I'm still sitting here listening to you, like literally getting goosebumps, because like you were right. Like so many thoughts. I want to celebrate the fact that you started this, you are running this, and this is still your philosophy. I hope that every time you and I have an opportunity to catch up, that you tell me that this is still your philosophy, because it is. Politicians, business people, I've seen them, and because the control is seductive.
That's right.
Because, oh, Jamie, hey, can you help me? And it's like, you know what, I can. Hey, Jamie, oh, thank you, Jamie's so great. Like, yes, why, yes, I am. I if it wasn't for me, your organization, what? And I've seen people take on that mantra, and so I am grateful on behalf of Fosterpreneur and everybody else who has the benefit of the organization to say, like, I am grateful that you are making that not your growth, not yours, your organization's growth, but making sure that the impact leads. And honestly, I hope every time we talk that you tell me that.
Me too. Like, this is the word. I just say, hold me accountable. That's what working in community is about, right? That we are close enough that you can say, Jamie, this is not what you was doing.
Right.
And we got to hold each other accountable, because this is not about me. This is the work and service of community. And when it starts looking like something different, I think those in community have the right to tell us so.
And I think to your point about one of the issues that you mentioned trauma before, I think that one of the problems that we have even in understanding the accountability. So like we do training, like when we talk to our entrepreneurs, like you don't have to be angry to say no, because we have been conditioned for so long that anybody who questions you, you're in trouble. Like I was talking to my mom. I was like, I used to hate when people ask, what are you doing? I'm about to get in trouble. Like nobody asks you questions. Let me see your report card. Okay, I know I got A's, but let me look real quick before I give it to you, because we've been and I recognize that my parents were trying to help me survive, because they knew what the people on the outside were going to do to me. So they knew that I needed to be able to be quick-witted. I needed to be able to have my documents together. But it really was I was talking to a friend of mine. She called it pre-traumatizing, where it's like when people's like, well, I'm going to fight you here, so when you get outside, you're going to know how to handle yourself. It's like, so wait a minute, you whooping my ass? Like, I ain't got no place where I can go away and get my ass whooped. Right. I don't think this makes me feel, this is not the way we develop well as humans. But all of that stuff that we develop, we try to pretend that when we put on a suit or we log on to our Zoom account, that all of that stuff is sitting in a chair beside us, or we leave it on the door or the door hanger. It's like, but that's still who you are. That's right. And so we bring that, well, you question me, you must not believe it. Now I got to fight you and I got to prove to you. It's like, whoa, no. I remember one guy I was working with, he was going in the direction of the funder. I thought it would help the funder if he went in this direction, but he was like, no, we can do this. And I was like, okay, cool. It's like, no, but let me explain to you. And I was like, I don't agree. I think it's a bad idea. Well, it's like, why are you still talking to me? It's a bad idea. Like, you don't have any more words that are going to change this bad idea into a good idea to me. It's like, well, and I said, but I don't, and I realized what it was. I told him, I don't need to agree with you. I've been sitting here to help you. I've given you my opinion. I don't think it's a good idea. Now my job is to help you make sure that it doesn't end up a horrible idea. And he was like, so you're going to help me even if you don't agree? Yeah. Because I understand how we work together. My ego, I am not involved in this. I am a functionary. I'm a tactician here. That's right. But for a lot of us, especially in the nonprofit, this is our heart and soul. We started this and put our money in it, and that ownership and that regression from us to y'all and me. And so again, just really grateful that you keep it open for people and provide them the platform so that they can experience the best version of them, as opposed to like, hey, Jamie wants you to look like this. Cool, look at a new collectively Look at the new collectively. Look at the new and it's like, nah, you're like, whatever you look like, just do that. So I'm sorry, you got me excited. So I think if we go back and do the minutes, I talk more than you did. That's probably not. I apologize.
No, that's good. But yeah, that's very intentional that we are trying our best to center those and not self. You know, even sometimes the social media folks like, you need to do a live and you need to do that. And it's like really showing like we can center our principles and our values and our personalities. We have gotten into sort of centering personalities. And so I've come up with this sort of piece I call MLK the Baker, with sort of looking at Dr. King and looking at Ella Baker, who talked about more about participatory models. And those are sort of the values that I'm trying to ingrain within collectively, that it is not personality driven. This is not about Jamye Wooten. It really is about the values that hold and principles that hold decentralized networks together. What are the things that unite us, that weave us together? If you get caught up in the personality, when I go wrong, then everything else goes wrong. But if we center the values and principles, you can also check me against those values and principles.
So I appreciate what you're doing. I'm gonna do this. I teach a project design class for nonprofit organizations because a lot of times people don't even realize the genius that they got before them. There was one young lady, she was so excited about the mentorship program that she was developing that I was like, you missed the opportunity to collect the data on it and report about the movement of Black males and how because you have the opportunity to collect longitudinal data. And really helping her. So I got that. So I volunteered to do a workshop for you guys. If you want to do it as a fundraiser, absolutely. If you just want to do it as a free capacity building workshop, absolutely. I just appreciate all that you're doing. I want to be a part of it.
I appreciate that. Yeah, we're gonna take you up on that.
Oh, no, hell yeah. Dude, don't get it twisted. I have a trauma-informed entrepreneurship training approach. Okay.
I'm coming for you.
Jamye, man, I appreciate you being here with us today. Thank you so much, brother. Hopefully, this is not the last time we could bring some of your, not just your funded organizations, but some of the organizations that you know in the community that may need a platform, an opportunity to talk and to share their story, because this is also how we make it happen. Absolutely. By bringing awareness to really great work so that we can partner more effectively.
That's right.
So yeah, I'm hoping this won't be the last time we see you here.
Absolutely not. Not anytime.
All right, man. I appreciate you.
Appreciate you. Peace.
All right, peace. Yo, y'all don't even know. I tell y'all I know dope people, and I don't think you believe me. I think y'all be like, oh yeah, you know some people. No, all of them are dope. But at least all of them I'm a brain to y'all, because there's like, all the one I'm a brain, because. Well, that's none of your business anyway. You don't even know them. So that's fine. But like I tell you, I know dope people. And again, it is wonderful to watch people really make changes in the community. Not just sitting on the side like, oh, when I know he did. They do. And it is having an impact across the board and not just for the organizations, not for them as businesses, but our community in general, just as real people, as humans. All right, I told you I was going to put the Grinding Gang commercial on the back end, so I think I still got enough time for that. So I'm going to see you all. Oh, tomorrow is Titillating Tuesday. Oh my God. My God. Y'all know one of my favorite days of the week. I get titillated. Like I can say titillating all day long on Tuesday, and nobody can say anything to me because it is Titillating Tuesday, and I like it. But either way, I will be black tomorrow. Hi, my name is William Honolulu Jr., and I'm the host of the BlackUSA.news morning show and the president of the Grinding Gang Incorporated. The Grinding Gang is an organization that helps small business owners in the nonprofit and for-profit communities figure out how to make sense of all the noise. There's a lot of information out there, and sometimes it gets a little overwhelming. We help you develop business plans. We help you figure out what to do with a lot of the information you receive, and we also help you figure out how to become more profitable. We also host a variety of workshops. You can check out our next workshop